Brought to you by Mint Mobile. Stay tuned for a special offer at the end of the show. Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Jouar, and today is Friday, December 19th, 2025, and I've got the most excellent Nick Gray with me here again. Hello, Nick. How are you?
Excellent. How are you?
It's good to see you, although I have a feeling you might make an appearance on the CES podcast very imminently, which is kind of hilarious. Because you always do.
CES is right around the corner already, which is insane.
I know, but we'll figure something out. I'm going to put out the call again and see who wants to join the party. There'll be some sort of chat going on. Listen, it's the end of the year, and maybe I should wish people happy holidays. It's almost there, right? So let's do it. Happy holidays, everyone. I hope you have a great time. I want to talk about our 5 favorite phones. You must have 5 favorite phones. How do you pick this year? Oh my God. Like, how do you pick 5 favorite phones?
Yeah, it's one of those years where I think we were all kind of underwhelmed by the phones in general. But then once you actually start using them, your opinion definitely changes. So honestly, I really wasn't excited about any single phone that was announced this year. And then as you get into actually using the device and seeing, no, it's not a huge leaps and bounds better, but we've seen some devices that have really stood out that I think are definitely worth talking about this year. So
yeah, absolutely. Where do you want to start? Because I'm just like, where do we start on this? Fire away with one, will you?
Honestly, I'm going to start with the Oppo Find X9 Pro.
Yes.
Because this, as you guys know, I've shared this plenty of times. I am a avid Pixel user. I've been a Pixel user for, I'd say since the Pixel 6, like full time, it's been my daily device. And this is the first time that I finished a review cycle and I stuck with another phone, and it's the Oppo Find X9 Pro. I mean, the main thing for me that stands out, of course, with Oppo's flagship tier devices is the cameras. We know that the cameras on this thing are absolutely phenomenal. I wish it had a 1-inch sensor, but that's what the Ultra is for, hopefully coming up early in Q1 of next year. But it still takes incredible photos, and the zoom camera on this thing is phenomenal. And Oppo's always struggled a little bit with the selfie cameras as well, and they seem to have fixed that this time around. But to wrap it all up, though, the performance and battery life that this phone offers is unbeatable. Every night I go to bed and I still have 65-70% battery life, and that's after a long day. That's unplugging the phone at 6:45 in the morning and then plugging it back in at 11 p.m. Like, it's not like I'm doing a short day on this phone. I actually did a pre-CES content capture a couple of weeks ago in New York, and it was one of those days I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, go to New York, fly, went to 2 meetings back to back and finished the day. I used the phone for all of my content capture because the cameras are that good. So I recorded at least an hour and a half worth of video, took a couple dozen photos at least, and then made it all the way home and went to bed at midnight. And I still had 22% battery life. Absolutely phenomenal. It boggles my mind that the battery life is this good in this phone, and the cameras are that good as well. Overall, for me, honestly, my number 1 pick for the year.
Yeah. Listen, I'm just not saying anything because you nailed it. Like, this to me, this is probably, if I had to pick and rate the phones, like rank them, I think this is my favorite phone of 2025. I think it's hard to say that because the Oppo Find X8 Ultra was also incredible, but because it's China only and it doesn't have the battery life, and I don't know, like, there's something about the Find X9 Pro that just makes it, I agree with you. It's a masterpiece of a phone. I think for me, this Oppo is just the cat's meow for me this year. I just feel like this perfect, well balanced phone. Like the cameras are incredible. I do wish I had that 1-inch sensors from the X8 Ultra because I have to say I took some car photos with that at 2x. I shoot all my car photos at 2x because otherwise you get too much of that lens distortion going on and at the edges and stuff. It's a bit weird. But I have to say, other than the 1-inch sensor, which I can totally live without, I feel like the telephoto is amazing. I think the software, for me, that's the thing that I feel the Chinese phones are kind of lacking in still is the software experience. I feel that Color OS / Oxygen OS / Realme UI are a little too iPhone-like in some ways. Having that category tab now in the app tray that you can't turn off is annoying me because it's very iPhone-like. Having the default or having the swipe top bottom, is also kind of annoying me. But I think overall, I feel like they've really done a good job at still keeping a very pleasant software experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think the software experience on Oppo and OnePlus devices on the Android side is my second favorite software build as opposed to Pixel. There are a lot of other manufacturers out there that just have way too much bloat in their systems. And, as you said, kind of lean towards what Apple is doing on their software side. Oppo definitely has done that this year, but I still think it still maintains enough of its own identity to really stand out and really not get in the way of the user. Because a lot of times things just get in the way of what you're actually trying to do.
I agree. And I think that that's kind of why for me, it's not just the hardware that's good on this phone. Like obviously it is, it's a flagship. It's got a great processors, great performance, great battery life, great camera system, great charging speeds, wireless charging, everything. But it's just the well-roundedness, like having that complete package. I think nobody's done it as well as that particular phone because the Ultra phones, they're so specialized, I think, in some ways on imaging that they do start being lopsided a bit, right? And this isn't. This has just all of that plus that you balance. And then let me throw one at you here. So we both have that one as one of our top 5. Let's be clear. I'll throw an iPhone in here because I feel like Apple this year really went above and beyond for Apple. Let's be clear. They're making an effort. I think that the iPhone Air, it would probably be my kind of, from a technical perspective, my phone of interest because it is a precursor to the Fold, but it's too compromised in terms of not having a silicon carbon battery. And I want to point out that, by the way, same with the Edge from Samsung, the S25 Edge. It's not having silicon carbon in these two phones was a massive mistake. And they really need to remedy that if they make a Gen 2. But I'm going to pick the iPhone 17 Pro or Pro Max because really, finally, I feel like Apple is making a phone for pros. They're proing really hard. They're not trying to make compromises around aesthetics or design. It's just, let's give everybody the best beans in terms of performance that we can give for an iPhone user. And I can't come back to this phone, especially for video, especially now that it has that 4x telephoto that's 50 megapixel with 8x, lossless zoom. It's just so solid. It's just so good. And then that orange color, for those of us who like colors, is just nice. But again, I can't narrow it down because, I have it too. It's great. You have the Pro or the Pro Max, by the way? You have the Pro, right?
Always the Pro. Got to go with the baby phone, man. If you get
you
all the features in a smaller phone, that's the way to go.
You're in. Yeah. Well, I got a review in it, and they sent me a Pro Max. But I have to give the 17 some love too, because I really do feel that if you're going to buy an iPhone today, right now, maybe that's going to change in March or so, because now they're supposedly TikTok cycling their phone launches. But 17 is everything an iPhone should be. Amazing. And I feel that it's still a little pricey. You pay the Apple tax, but man, they're giving us everything we need. They finally did the thing that we've asked them to do forever and put a Pro feature in a regular phone, which is for them, 120 hertz, whatever LTPO is a Pro feature. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's a total requirement.
Table stakes these days.
Exactly. But it has everything other than a telephoto, and it does it all really, really, really well. So, everybody's just going to buy a Pro because they can get it subsidized, buy one, get one, carrier deals. But people, listen to me. You do not need a Pro iPhone. We do, but you do not. Most of you do not. Buy an iPhone 17. It is amazing.
I'll caveat this. Like, I know I was one of the people a couple years ago saying, why are we putting telephoto cameras on our smartphones? And honestly, it was one of those things where I really didn't understand the real use case for the telephoto. Until my girls, they're in middle school and high school. Now they're doing sports, and it's at a basketball game, it's at a lacrosse game, it's at a track meet, something like that. And global excuse is always, you can always get closer and take a better shot. Well, not when I'm in the grandstands and I'm 15 rows up and she's across the field. Being able to have a telephoto, like we use it for content creation and work, right? Like it's a necessary tool. But my sister complained to me the other day, oh, my phone, I need a better phone. It doesn't have a good zoom. And what is she using Zoom for? Oh, she's at school plays, watching her kids in a play, and she's needing to record something at a school play or a school event or things like that. So like a lot of times we kind of brush people off and say, no, you don't need the Pro phone. But there is a real use case. And honestly, I think moms might have more of a use case than a lot of people actually do, because they want to record their kids. And if you're recording in your house, who cares, whatever. But there's a lot of events that your kids do that you want to capture, and being able to capture something and zoom in and see their face from across a football field is completely different than, hey, I saw a little speck of my child across the field, right? So we could rush things off and say, no, you don't need that zoom camera, but more often
I
than
agree
not,
with you. What I'm trying to say,
I need that zoom camera.
I agree with you. And what I'm trying to say is that I think Pixel solved this. The 10 has a telephoto. I think Apple needs to put a telephoto on the 17. I'm not saying they shouldn't have one. I'm just saying that you don't need the Pro. There are many Pro features that mom will never need. So that's why I'm saying, like, right now they're drawing the line at no telephoto, and I think it's wrong. I agree with you. You make the perfect use case for that. But that's where we are right now. I'm just thinking that many, many people will be satisfied with 17. Maybe not moms with teenage kids that have to be in the grandstands. But overall, in the iPhone world, I think Apple nailed across the board. I think even the Air is a delight to use as long as you know what you're getting into. And the 17 Pro or 17 Pro Max would be one of my top 5 phones of the year. And it's not usually, I don't usually have an iPhone in there simply because I'm like, so many good Android phones.
Yeah. So I honestly, it's on my list as well. The 17 Pro. The main thing I use it for is camera comparisons, but video. I've been leaning more and more into doing content creation at trade shows, going only with smartphones and capturing everything.
Absolutely. I've been doing that for years, actually.
And I'm the, as somebody who does, long form video content on YouTube and, sponsored collaborations, you typically don't want to show up to a brand saying, hey, you're paying me money to be here, and all I did was bring my smartphone. And it seems like, I should show up with a little bit more. But at this point, the video quality that you can get out of the iPhone and the versatility that it gives you with the 3 different cameras, I would have to show up with my mirrorless camera and 2 different lenses in order to get what I can capture with my iPhone. And no, the video quality isn't going to be a 1-to-1 match, but it's going to be so good that you can't really tell the difference unless you are a content creator who knows what those differences are. And if that's the only people we're trying to impress at this point, then we're in the wrong business, because we're supposed to be creating content for the regular people, not other content creators, right? So iPhone 17 Pro on my list for 2027. Wow,
Sweet.
2027, 2025. It's not 2027.
Right on. Well, listen, I think for me, I need to throw a third one in the mix here, and I think I'm going to throw a folding phone in the mix. because I think that
Which
we got
one?
some really good ones this year. Well, I have a runner-up, and then I have my pick of the year. And I want to preface this that I don't get all the phones you get. Specifically, I don't get the Honor ones. I want to say that my runner-up is the Galaxy Z Fold 7, and I think a lot of people love that phone this year. And I think the reason a lot of people love that phone this year is simply because it's really good. But it's really good in a Western way, like in a North American centric way, because you can get good deals on it. Again, carriers, BOGO, family plans, the whole thing, and it is a really solid folding phone. And I think that it's finally Samsung listening and catching up. But, again, no silicon carbon battery. Telephoto is potatoes. It's terrible. And you can't really zoom. They might as well not have a telephoto. In fact, if you compare it to the S25 Edge, that's missing that telephoto but has everything else the same, you might as well they're almost the same when you start zooming beyond like 5x, right? So basically what I'm saying is like, I feel like that wasn't my pick simply because the cameras weren't good enough and the battery life wasn't good enough. And also the lack of S Pen support. My pick is the Oppo Find N5 simply because I did not get to spend any time with the Honor Magic V5, which I know is also excellent, but it's also that software conversation we had earlier with Oppo, right? It's open canvas. It's the phone works worldwide really well band-wise. It's a whole bunch of things. Pen support. It's as thin as the V5 or the Z Fold 7. It has great cameras, even though the ultra-wide is a little potato-ish, but I can live with that. It's a compromise I can make. So that's kind of my folding phone pick. And, at least on the book style. There's also the Razer Ultra, which was, I think, really great.
Yeah, so I do have to agree with you on the Oppo. My wife, as soon as I got the phone and I unbox the phone, I set it up, I sit down on the couch and, watch a show with my wife. And she walked into the room and looked at it. And the first thing she said was, as soon as you're done with that phone, I want it. And she's been on the phone since I finished my review of it.
Oh my God, are you serious? She's using that?
She's been using it as her daily for, I don't know what, it's been like 5, 6, I don't know.
Months?
Too many months. Mm-hmm. But it was one of those things that over the years, she's tried out a couple different foldables. I gave her the second Pixel Fold to use, and she liked it. It was too thick. She used one of the Galaxy Z Folds previously. She liked the concept, but she didn't like Samsung software. And again, coming back to software really makes a difference. She loves Oppo's implementation of the software on their foldable devices and the fact that this phone is crazy thin, that it's been her go-to device, and she just loves being able to open the phone up, use that larger display on the inside for browsing the web, browsing social media, folding it up, putting it away, and, having a phone that's still regular size, not something that's completely bulky and unusable. So definitely on my list as well. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of foldables just because I don't open them. Like, they've gotten so thin that they're like, hey, it's just like a regular phone, and then I just don't use the inside display.
So I have that too.
For me, it's a little bit wasted. But she's one of the people who's been converted by it, and she absolutely loves it.
Cool. Yeah, so I think that's impressive because, Theo uses a Razer and they're really into it. I think they're about to upgrade to the Ultra at some point soon. The Ultra, I think, stands out as a folding flip style because I feel that it's still doing things better than the Z Flip 7. But Samsung definitely did a pretty good job with the Z Flip 7. I still feel that I wish I had had time with the Magic V5. Did you? And what did you think compared to the Oppo? Knowing the software thing, but also knowing that the ultra-wide is better on the V5 and maybe the battery life a bit better too?
I had some time with the V5. Again, it comes down to the software experience. I just detest Honor's software.
Yeah.
It is, I would say, as far as the Chinese OEMs, the worst software experience. Like
Yeah.
I would, like I don't want to put it in the same category as Techno or Infinix, but like it's at the bottom of the pool with them. They really need to step up their game. The hardware they deliver, though, is phenomenal. Like their hardware engineers have done a really good job. Building the phone is, it's top-notch quality, but it's just, it feels like they've done some software tweaking and refinement, but it still feels like it's 3 to 4 years behind where we should be. They're just stuck in another era when it comes to the software. And it's just become something that I can't recommend to anybody.
No, I agree. And that's how I feel too. But I feel that there's a lot of love out there for the Z Fold 7, rightfully so, and for the Magic V5, rightfully so in some ways. But somehow the Oppo Find N5 just flew under everybody's radar. I feel like it was the first that was that thin that came out this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's been in my second pocket almost continuously since it came out. Like, I love that phone. I keep telling people how great that phone. I keep showing people that phone. They're like, wow. And I'm like, yeah, I have to say the squareness of the Z Fold 7 makes it even stand out more when you show it to people somehow, because it appears even thinner somehow. I don't know. There's some visual trickery that Samsung used there that is very compelling. My next phone, Pixel 10 series in general, but Pixel 10 Pro XL. I've got the XL because I like the larger phones. It's my daily. It's my main phone. I have the Canadian model with a SIM tray because I like physical SIMs. I'm like that. But my God, that phone is so good. It is almost as good as it should be. I feel like a better chip again still. I still maybe G6 next year. I don't know. But the Tensor G5 this year is really damn solid. And also, Google, please, silicon carbon. I want that 2-day battery life. Like you mentioned the Oppo. When I get to 65% at the end of a busy day, like you said, I don't even charge it again. I just go for another day. Like, screw it. Like, it just doesn't matter to me, right?
I mean, you got to start off the day with 100%. I mean, come on.
Nah, I'm not. I like to live dangerously. Unless I'm at a trade show. Then it's a whole different story.
Yeah, I think the Pixels are definitely worth mentioning. As I said, I'm usually a Pixel user. I was on the Pixel 9 until the Pixel 10 came out. Not sure if I'm going to be going back to the Pixel 10 because I am on the Oppo. I do still crave the software experience. Just the minimalism that you get with the Pixel software experience is just hard to beat. But I don't know. I've also kind of been mad at Google for the last couple of years as far as what the software does with photos when you're taking pictures of people. I don't know if you've noticed this, like if there is not weird sun, but like if you are in direct sun and the sun is low, people's faces look like they're zombies. You get gray skin tones, and it's especially obvious with video as well. Like it's doing something really weird with the HDR, and it kind of started creeping in with the Pixel 8. It got worse with the Pixel 9, and I think it's even worse with the Pixel 10. You just don't get that on some of these other flagship tier devices, and Google's got to correct it in some way. They've made this big deal about having true tone skin tones and stuff like that a couple years back, and I don't think that it really works anymore.
Yeah, look, I think this is a problem with all three big US centric brands. Google, Samsung, and Apple. They have gone so, like, there's no more contrast. Like, there's no more, everything is just so uniform in terms of lighting. I just think they've gone too far. Google used to be contrasty and have that really good skin color for people, no matter the condition. And I think you're right. That's kind of gone now, or not gone, but like compromised in some ways. I could easily pick the S25 Ultra as a solid runner-up here for me, even though it's a really large phone, and I think the S25 regular and Plus or whatever are not quite good enough, right? But I think that the Pixel for me represents everything a Western market phone should be, and short of the chip. And that's kind of like, and then do you have a fifth?
A fifth, like I was going through my list and trying to figure out what it would be with a fifth device on here. And The only really thing that stands out for me is the Pixel 9a.
Good call.
They kind of switched up the design this year for the A series. It doesn't really look like the higher end devices, but you still get that, overall for a mid-range device, it has an incredible camera. Battery life on that phone is phenomenal. And for the price, the performance is actually really good, even though it's a, Tensor, what is the G4?
Yeah.
Chipset inside of there. It's not the best of the best, but it's not the worst of the worst. And for the price to performance ratio in the US, honestly, it's very hard to beat unless you're going with, say a 2-year-old iPhone, right? Like you can't find another device that would have that price point, that decent camera experience for that price point, and the performance to go along with it.
I think it's the complete antithesis to the iPhone 16e. Like,
kind of, yeah.
The 16e is $100 more, doesn't have the battery life, doesn't have enough cameras. It just doesn't make any sense, especially when you can pay a little bit more and get a 17, right? As at least for a while you could get a 16 instead, but you know what I'm saying. Like, to me, you're right. The 9A is just kind of the perfect $499, $500 phone. But I have another choice for my fifth.
What's yours?
Because it's so exceptional for its price. And that is the CMF by Nothing Phone 2 Pro. $280 of awesomeness all around. Remember how I told you the Oppo Find X9 Pro is super well balanced for its flagshipness? Mm-hmm. Everything is good. Well, guess what? The CMF by Nothing Phone 2 Pro is exactly that, but at $280. Now, I know in Asia you can get other phones that, in that price category that are really excellent. But this is a phone that works in North America, supports the bands and everything, and it has a really decent camera system, even though it's lacking OIS on the main sensor. That telephoto is actually pretty decent. It has really good performance. The software is delightful. Battery life is great. Charges fast-ish. And it's cheap AF.
My only counter to that is you really can't buy it.
Well, you can go to the store right now and get it.
Not in the US.
No, nothing CM. Really? They don't have it on the store? I thought it was there.
No, the CMF phones have never been sold in the US, and then the regular Nothing
No, this
phone,
was officially sold in the US. I'm not joking. You can buy it on Amazon.
Being forced to buy something on Amazon is...
it's a budget phone, You might have to jump some hoops.
But the Pixel 9a, you don't have to jump some hoops.
No, but it's also
an A
way
series
more.
From an A series from Samsung, you don't have to jump some hoops. And, most people who are on a budget phone are just going to pick one up from their service provider anyways because they can't afford to buy a phone. I don't know. It makes total sense in Europe in some markets, but I think
9A is twice as much, right? Almost. So let's...
Yeah, but... I would say it's twice as much phone as well.
Oh yeah,
but
well, absolutely,
at least. No, not to detract from the CMF. It is a really good phone. I just have a hard time.
Recommend.
I have a hard time getting excited about a phone like that because a phone that should give you that much excitement should bring more excitement than it actually delivers. You're still getting a pretty budget phone. It performs really good for a budget phone, but it's still a budget phone, and I just can't get that excited for it.
I agree. I'm just saying, for me, it's the software is really good. The specs are really well balanced, and you don't see that in a Moto G. The software is good, but then you get all this crapware, and then you get lopsided hardware that has LCD panels still on that price point, all kinds of things. This has an OLED at 120 hertz at a 1080p. They're not messing about, and I think that's the kind of thing that you don't see at that price point, at least in this market. So I'm kind of excited about it. It's hard, but I wanted to pick a value phone because not everybody has there are enthusiasts out there, Nick, that are in North America that cannot afford to buy the flagships. They maybe don't even have the credit to get a good deal through a plan through their carrier. And for those people, they can go on Amazon today and buy the CMF by Nothing Phone 2 Pro and get a really great phone that'll last them 3-4 years.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, is it even CMF by nothing anymore? Because then if they spin it off.
Oh yeah, no, they're
CMF.
gonna. That's it. Technically, that phone still is, but you're right. They're spinning off the brand, so that should be interesting to see how that develops. So there you go, folks. Our top 5. Oppo Find X9 Pro for me, followed by the iPhone 17 Pro Max, followed by the Oppo Find N5, followed by the Pixel 10 Pro XL, followed by the CMF by nothing Phone 2 Pro. And your list was?
I had the Oppo Find X9 Pro. I had the iPhone, the Pixel 9a, the Find N5, and there was another phone in there. Or did I only do 4?
Pixel 9a.
Or Pixel, yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a good selection. There's a lot of crossover here as well. Like, I think there's been some great phones, but as I said at the beginning, it was like there weren't that many that were like super exciting out of the gate. We kind of had to fall in love with them after the fact. Not something that like we were like dying to see before they came out.
I want to make some honorable mentions. As I said earlier, Z Fold 7, Razer Ultra, Moto makes the best flip phone still, in my opinion. We've got the OnePlus 13. It's got eclipsed by this 15 that just came out, and it's actually a good segue for what we're talking about right now. But I think like the OnePlus 13, if you want an alternative to the Oppo Find X9 Pro or Find X8 Pro from last year, because you want full band support, or you want a Qualcomm chip for whatever reason. For gaming, that makes sense. The Qualcomm chip will get you better gaming support, especially for emulation. I would say get the 13 while you can, because I don't think the 15 is as well balanced, even though the 15 is a really solid phone too. So there's that. And then, I didn't mention Samsung much, but I do feel like they're still really solid. Like Xiaomi as well. Xiaomi 17 Pro Max. I never touched it, so I don't know. That's why I don't tell you about it, because I can't recommend something I haven't played with. But Xiaomi phones are always really amazing, so I'm sure it's going to be great, right?
Yeah, I think the Xiaomi is probably one of the ones that we didn't talk about. I mean, the Ultra this year was an absolutely phenomenal phone.
Great.
As far as cameras go, I do have some issues with the software.
Yeah, me too.
And then, of course, just like the Oppo with the Ultra series, like it's not globally available. It's still hard to find. But if you want the ultimate camera experience, those Ultra tier devices from these Chinese brands are definitely the way to go. I mean, you can be nitpicky and say, this one has a better selfie camera, this one has slightly better zoom, but at the end of the day, they outperform pretty much anything that we have on the market here in the US, and it's really not even a comparison.
Yeah, I mean, the Chinese manufacturers are absolutely like leapfrogging everyone right now in every area. And, I want to just also give an honorable mention to the Vivo X300 Pro, which is just another really phenomenal camera phone. There's also the 200 Ultra before it. Like all of those Chinese flagships are great, but the software, as I mentioned earlier, for me, the only software that I'm really happy, like every day I can live with, is Oppo, OnePlus, Realme. And it's annoying that Xiaomi is, and Honor is terrible. And, there's so many little things here that you have to worry about when you get a phone from a Chinese manufacturer that you don't have to worry with Samsung or a Pixel. And that's something to keep in mind as well. And, I know this is a very Western-centric view, and I know a lot of you are not in the West listening right now. And you're probably like, I've loved Xiaomi's software. And you know what? You're probably right, because you have been using it for years and you're familiar. So that matters. And I totally respect that.
It's honestly designed specifically for Chinese markets, and then, kind of regionalized from there for other Asian markets as well. It's just not optimized or even designed for, the users in the West. There's things that we do differently, and, that's a good thing to have software that works for one region and maybe not another.
Exactly. All right. So I want to talk about another phone here today that is finally officially out, and I can talk about it. The OnePlus 15R. You have one as well. I'm showing it for the Patreons. Folks, there is a Patreon that comes along with this podcast. If you want to get a video version of this podcast, you can do that every week for $5 a month. You get it a day in advance. So consider patreon.com/TNKGRL. This phone, I do not know what to make of this phone. I gave it a 4 out of 5 in my hot hardware review. Check it out. The link is in the show notes. But it's a good phone. There's no doubt. It's just, who is this phone for, Nick?
I was thinking about that, and you had mentioned something about, performance is good, but it's not good for a gaming phone. Cameras are okay, but they're not flagship level. I would say this is a good phone for a 15-year-old boy who who wants to game on their phone.
15R.
15R. Perfect. You want to game on a phone, but last I checked, 15-year-old boys, their parents aren't buying them the most expensive phone because they drop their phone, they break their phone, they're going to be wanting an upgrade in a year and a half anyways. 15-year-old boys don't care about cameras all that much. They have, the main camera is pretty decent. Ultra wide is, not good.
Potato is bad. It's just bad.
Selfie camera is actually pretty good.
Selfies okay.
Making video calls or whatever. But I think a lot of times we talk about gaming phones and we automatically think a gamer wants the best performance possible. Whereas, Steam releases their reports about, the gaming hardware that's hooked up to the Steam system, and they give all these reports about, the average user, this and that. The average user on Steam has 8 gigs of RAM. You would say that's the worst thing you could ever do for a gaming device. Well, just because you game doesn't mean you have the best of the best hardware, right? You need enough to get by and not have any complaints or issues. And I would say, no, this is not the best phone for gaming, but a 15-year-old who, wants to play Roblox or Minecraft and, has a couple other games like Call of Duty, things like that, this is going to be perfectly fine. And I think the battery life on here is phenomenal for the amount of performance that you get. So you could go all out and get something with a much more powerful chipset and, get maybe 10, 15% better performance. But I don't think you're really going to notice that much. But the performance to battery life ratio and how good the display is on here as well for the price, I would say I don't think a 15-year-old boy is going to be complaining about getting this phone. And the price, I would say, needs to be $100 cheaper, but it's not ridiculously expensive for what it is.
I agree with all you said. I think that I never thought of the 15-year-old boy. This is definitely a good one.
Maybe we're both getting a little too old.
I think here's the thing. I think for me, I came into it going OnePlus 15 is the 17 Pro, iPhone 17 Pro, equivalent. And then, if you make an analogy, the 15R should be the 17 equivalent. It lacks a telephoto, So it's also A19 versus A19 Pro chip, Snapdragon 8 Gen 5 versus Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. So I saw a lot of parallels there. That's one angle I approached my review, and I was like, but it doesn't really work. And here is why it doesn't really work. And it's because, they are cutting quite a few corners on this phone. The ultra-wide is potatoes. It's really bad, honestly. The main camera is the same as the 15, which is a solid camera system, but it falls apart at 4x or so for zooming because they didn't implement their super res, whatever it's called, the AI zoom. They could have taken that algorithm from the 15, which is used on the telephoto, and given us some relatively decent zoom, say up to maybe 8x or 6x. But they're not doing that. I can't wrap my head around that. It's the same, whatever it's called, engine there, Detail Max. What is missing there? Is it a processor thing? I don't know. Because that processor, if you look at it, I did some performance benchmarks because that's what hot hardware does. And CPU-wise, it holds its own with the 8 Elite Gen 5 and the 8 Elite. It's only in GPU that it's a lesser chip, right? So I'm what? It's a really solid performance-wise. As you said, it could be a gaming phone for many people. And then there's the battery life, and the battery is insane. And I want to point out, by the way, if you if you benchmark the battery life, it's slightly worse than the 15, even though the battery is slightly bigger. And there's only one logical reason for that, is because these battery life tests run the screen all the time and animate the screen all the time. And because this is not an LTPO panel, unlike the 13R last year, this is an LTPS. So it's going from 60 at minimum to 90 to 120. And then for gaming, it do 144 and 165, but it never reaches that except for specific games. So it's basically going at between 60 and 120 the whole time for what, 22 hours my test lasted. That's how long the battery life was. So like basically you're not on paper getting the same battery life as the 15, but in my daily use, I think I've charged this phone, I've had it for like 2 weeks now, and I've charged it twice. And I've done all my tests and everything on it. It's insane.
I think it's a decent phone, but it's one of those devices where you really have to find the right user for the phone as opposed to creating a phone and then the users just flock to it. So I don't fault OnePlus for the way that they made the phone. It's just, I think it's really has a niche market segment that really needs to play itself out in order to make this phone successful.
But then the question is, why make this phone for this market? It seems so specific. Like, why not make the 17 to the 17 Pro or the Pixel 10 to the Pixel 10 Pro? Like, that's what the 15R should be. It's a pseudo flagship or a premium mid-ranger.
I agree with you. I don't blame the phone itself, but it comes down to OnePlus as their strategy. Like, someone said, we need a phone at this price point. And then you had a couple engineers say, hey, if we spec out this phone, this is what it turns into. No one thought, what is the experience of the phone once we spec out this device, and who's going to buy it? So like it's kind of the foresight of knowing, hey, this is actually what we want to deliver, rather than, hey, this is a price point we want to hit, and whatever we can get at that price point we'll take. Like having a strategy of, this is what this price point is supposed to deliver in the first place. So I think they engineered their way into the price point rather than designing their way into the price point.
Yep, you're right. I think it's, and this is puzzling to me because I think Oppo, aka OnePlus, generally does a better job at balancing these phones out better. I don't know. It's very weird to me. And this kind of weird performance focus, you weren't here, but I'm sure you heard the shows where I went 3 weeks in a row, talked about the OnePlus 15 and how I can't fully get behind it after the 13 because of so many weird decisions. It feels like the 15R took that to an extreme, like bad decision making, at least for me, maybe not for 15-year-old boys though. I think that like things like IP69K, wow, awesome. No wireless charging, fail. Like at $700 or whatever it is, I want wireless charging. Like, I'm sorry, that you reached a threshold where that's table stakes. I don't know, things like that to me.
Sometimes you hit something out of the ballpark. Sometimes you hit something you hit a foul ball, and sometimes you strike out. I would say, I don't think it's a full strikeout, but they hit it.
It's not a bad phone at all.
They hit a couple foul balls, and then they hit a single off, and it is what it is. Sometimes they have some off years. Sometimes they have some great years. And, if you look back at OnePlus the last 5 years, that's kind of what they've been doing. We haven't had successive years with successful phones from them. It's been 1 year, it was great. Next year, it was, not so much. And then we're kind of back in that cycle again. So fingers crossed for 2026.
I think 13R last year we got to a point where they kind of got it. And then they just pulled the rug from under, Oppo did, I think, from under OnePlus's feet here. Speaking of OnePlus, we also have this thing. This is the OnePlus Pad Go 2. And it's in its folio case here. As you can see, it has a little flap. This is a pen. It's not magnetic. There's a little plastic silo. It charges over USB-C, this pen, as you can see here. So it's not magnetic or anything like that. It does have this, typical iPad-like system here and this is a beautiful display, which is, I should unlock. There we go. And There we go. See? It's weird 7:5 aspect ratio, which I don't mind at all. Look, this is a $400 tablet. It's made of plastic. As I said, it's in this plastic folio right now. You can't really see, but it's a black slab, monolithic, matte colored fingerprint magnet plastic chassis. It's not aesthetically very great. It's got 8 megapixel front and back cameras. If you want a solid tablet that does everything well, this is it, except it doesn't come with a keyboard folio anyway, so you need to like get a Bluetooth keyboard if you really want to be productive, unless you take notes and you're a pen person. That's the only thing I can say bad about it. Everything else is solid for an Android tablet. Performance is there, it's like, it's great, it's solid, it's good. But no keyboard folio is odd, and the lack of open canvas, their software they even have on their folding phones that lets you multitask by arranging windows and in a really clever way, is not there. You can side by side, that's about all you can do. And I don't know, it really seems to me like it's focused on consumption, which is totally fine. But it really is quite suitable for productivity if it had a keyboard folio and open canvas. It doesn't have to have a Snapdragon 8 series like the other tablets they make to be a productivity device. So I don't understand this product. And then there's the elephant in the room, which is the iPad, the base iPad, the iPad that everybody loves and buys and should get, to be honest, because if you want a tablet at that price point, why not buy an iPad if you're just going to consume content? Why not buy a Fire tablet while you're at it? I don't know. What's your take on this?
I do agree with you. Like, as far as what this tablet is made for, it's a consumption device. There's honestly, like, I have never been somebody who uses a tablet as a productivity device. It's nice to be able to use a keyboard every now and then.
Yeah.
And I know there are people that are out there that are doing, photo editing and this and that, but anyone who's doing that is definitely in the Apple ecosystem and, never going to buy anything else. But like what was it? This yesterday or the day before, my daughter, she uses, an Honor Pad for media consumption. And she finished finals early for the semester, and so she was home and she was watching through the Hobbit series while she was doing some work at her desk. And the Honor tablet was like 10 inches or whatever. And I was like, let me just give you another tablet. So I gave her the old OnePlus Pad, I forget which one, from earlier this year or late last year, that has, I think, a 13 or 14 inch display. And she's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But the only thing she's going to do with it is just watch more of The Hobbit on it. And she's just doing media consumption. And it's just a bigger screen. And to be fair, most people are just browsing the web or watching media. Like, that's the only thing. Even people who have a $1,400 iPad are browsing the web or watching a video or something. The fact that people sell these things and try to convince us that tablets are productivity tools, great. That's 2% of their use. The other 98% is, media consumption. I don't think this is priced right for what it is. It should be a, $350 at most, maybe.
Well, that's what the iPad is, right? So that's why I'm like, buy an iPad.
Like, it's $399 for 8 gigs of RAM. I don't know, like, it's just too expensive for what it is. There's so many other devices that are on the market. To be fair, a regular Android tablet is so much better than a Fire tablet. It's unbelievable.
Yes.
Usually Fire tablets 100%. Are completely underpowered, and then you're locked into their stupid.
No, but they're also half the price of this, right? That's what I'm trying to say. Like,
but they're half the price because they don't have the Play Store access.
Because they suck.
Because they suck, right?
Really suck. Let's be real here.
So, I mean, I get it from that standpoint, but make it $350, maybe $299. OnePlus devices don't usually go on sale immediately, so it's going to be at this price point for a while. But if you really want a cheaper tablet, Samsung's got some cheaper ones, or some TCL tablets. The Next Paper tablets from TCL.
Oh, they're so nice.
They're delicious, and not off that much from this price point either. So there's options out there. I mean, it's nice that they have a cheaper tablet because their other tablets are very expensive. So I get that part, but this should be cheaper.
Yeah. I think that for me, you touched on some things that make a lot of sense here. I use the, my Pad 3, whatever, the high-end OnePlus to watch content when I'm taking a bath. Like, that's the best thing it ever does. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm the same as you. I don't really use tablets. Like, I need a laptop if I want to be productive. Even a keyboard on a tablet doesn't do it. But I still think they should have had an optional folio keyboard or something for this. Or maybe bundle it with like a cheap Logitech Bluetooth keyboard or something, super slim, thin, that you throw in your bag. It's weird to me that at that price, they're not even thinking of productivity unless you use the pen. And that's one thing. But the other thing is, I can see how it's better than an iPad in some ways. It does have 120 hertz display, which the iPad doesn't have by default. It does have a pretty decent chip, the MediaTek Dimensity 7300 Ultra. It's pretty solid. But I think, again, the iPad's going to walk all over that with the A18 or whatever it's using now. So, and I don't know. It's a hard sell. I want to love it, but nerfing open canvas, as Adam says in his review, Adam Dowd, who will be on the show, next week, actually. So stay tuned for that. He wrote the review for /gear on this tablet. I'll put it in the show notes. Why did they not like open canvas? Seriously, like, wow. Big battery, 10,000 milliamp hour, of course, 8 gigs of RAM, whatever. Look, it's a tablet. It exists. It should be cheaper. Just like the $50 thing should be $50 cheaper. There you go. That's OnePlus this week. Weird decisions.
Just mark things down by $50 to $100 and they'll be much better products.
Yeah, but that's a Moto thing. Like, we used to say that about Moto, and now I feel like I don't want to have to say this about OnePlus. Like, this is not right.
Well, I mean, when OnePlus got its name because they wanted to be the flagship killer at significantly lower prices, right? Never settle. Yeah, I see it on your hoodie.
I'm wearing
the
OnePlus hoodie right now. But, I'm a shill. Come on.
But that's the thing. Like, that's how you built your brand. And the brand was built on, we give you incredible performance without breaking the bank. And then you just give us mediocre performance at mediocre prices. Like, it just doesn't add up.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm pointing out the never settle.
You're just another product in the barrel. Like, it doesn't matter.
They're settling. These two products are settling. Yeah. Anyway, we've got some news items here. Let's rapid fire through them. Maybe we can alternate. I'll take one, you take the other. We go through them in like 10 minutes real quick. I want to just mostly talk about this iPhone Fold CAD renders that have leaked and show a form factor that's like somewhere between maybe the Pura X and the original Pixel Fold. Like, it is fascinating. And I feel like if Apple's going to launch a folding phone that has a different form factor than what we think of a book style folding phone, which is today, like my Oppo Find N5 here, a phone that looks like a phone and turns into a small squarish tablet, but they're going into, it doesn't look like a phone from the front and it opens into a wide aspect ratio device, which makes sense for watching content, right? Because that's one of the limitations of using this kind of design because of the square screen, right? So yeah, what do you think of that? That's kind of interesting to me.
It's confusing to me because Apple is notorious for not making their UI flexible. Like the iPad is the iPad and it's just not an enlarged iPhone screen. It has its own pixel density and it's not a flexible pixel density, which means this comes up with this miniature screen that's not on the outside, that's not a regular form factor for a screen, and then opens up into what would probably be about double of that. So it becomes
maybe
easier.
iPad? Does it look like an iPad open to you? Or does it look too wide to be an iPad?
it looks like like an iPad mini. Like essentially take an iPad mini and fold it in half and put a screen on the outside.
So the inside makes sense. It's the outside that you and I are like, how can they do that?
And like from an Apple standpoint of everything's got to be at the right exact pixel and everything, it just doesn't make sense, because this is not a phone in any way that they currently have a phone, right? Like most other foldables, on the outside, you fold it up, it looks like a regular slab phone. This folded up does not look like a regular slab phone. It looks like they cut off the top or the bottom of it, and then you open it up and it's an iPad. So it's a completely different thing that I just wasn't expecting to see. That being said, having a screen on the inside that is more of the form factor of an iPad makes a little bit more sense than what, we typically see from, Samsung or any other OEM, where it's almost square-ish. So like if you are watching a video, you don't get that much more screen real estate for it. It's just a lot more black bars at the top and the bottom. So I don't know, like it could be good, could be bad. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we have to wait and see. I want to believe that these CAD renders are accurate, but if they are, there's a lot of questions. But at the same time, it's also exciting because I feel like Apple disrupting things by changing the form factor is really interesting, because I feel like we're going to get a Xiaomi folding phone next year that looks like that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's going to break the paradigm. And I kind of love that disruption. I'm like, I'm willing to try it. And if it causes disruption on the Android side as well, it'll be really interesting, especially now that we have trifolds, right? If you really want this kind of classic phone in one hand that opens up into a proper tablet, trifolds where we're going, I think, eventually. I'm not sure how thin we can make them in the long run, though. But we'll see. What are your thoughts on a Gen 2 of the Air and also a Gen 2 of the S25 Edge, or the S26 Edge in this case? I want it to happen with silicon carbon, and I want it to happen with what this rumor, which is the second time we've seen this rumor now, of adding an ultra wide to the iPhone Air, which is really, I think, would solve a lot of problems. But I feel like the business case is not there right now for both Samsung and Apple.
Oh, absolutely not. The business, from Apple's standpoint, this is their worst selling phone that they've made.
But it's so
years.
Good.
But it's so bad at the same time. Like, yeah, it's good from a material design standpoint, but from an actual usable phone, it's the worst iPhone we've had in years. And the sales just go to show that nobody really wanted this phone. Same goes for Samsung. Like, there's a reason why nobody is buying the phone, and it's because, hey, if you're going to pay a premium for a phone, you should have premium features, not fewer features. Being thin is not a feature. Like that's
well, for some people it is. Like John Redinger made an entire video on how to use the iPhone Air, and he loves it. I think the Edge is much closer to what we want, though. The Edge just needs a silicon carbon battery. I think that would fly, but it also needs to be like cheaper. To be honest, like it needs
100%. Like
right?
It needs, like, the phones. Just because you're literally the phone is thinner, you have less materials, and you're charging us $200 more for it. Like, you put a smaller battery and you took a camera out and you want to charge us more. Like that, only in the world of Apple's world does that make sense.
I think
that it makes sense from Apple's standpoint, but not actually from it's actually worth it standpoint.
I think there's an argument to be made for design and exclusivity and uniqueness, that you pay for that in the same way as, those crazy handbags that, Michael Josh likes to buy are, to me, make zero sense whatsoever, because why are they so expensive? It's just a really cool handbag. Like, you shouldn't be paying Gucci $10,000 for a handbag that can be perfectly achieved with a $200 product. I think there is also that. And we've seen this before, right? The Motorola bedazzled, Swarovski phones and stuff. And I think there's a market for that.
Oh, 100%.
Price more for less is what I'm saying, right?
But that's a limited edition device.
Correct.
It's designed exclusively, sold as limited edition. There's a in terms of handbags, there was only like 5,000 made or 200 made.
Yeah.
Or the Swarovski crystals on the Motorola Razr. Like, that's a collaboration, and there's 100,000 of them in the world. And hey, guess what? It was only a little bit more expensive. It wasn't a lot more expensive. And the phone itself was actually the same as the other phone. This, they're saying, we made the phone worse and we're charging you more.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
you really have to be that conceited to think this is a better phone than the other one just because it's thinner. Like,
I think there are some people who think that way, and I do think that you're right, though. They should have, Apple and Samsung should have said this is a limited run. That would have like created more buzz around it, even. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
like, in a way.
A limited run, they can run the numbers and say, hey, if we sell, 1.2 million of these over the course of 1 year, then we break even. But they didn't do that. And when you say it's limited run, you can then justify charging more and, maybe changing the materials a little bit to make it.
Yeah.
Even though we have these compromises, hey, we put a sapphire display on it.
Yeah.
Or we put a ceramic back on it.
Or it's gold plated or whatever. Right?
Something like that. Like the original what was it? The original Apple Watch. They had those limited edition ones that
Hermes or whatever. Yeah.
They do that 100%, but give us a reason to pay the premium. Don't just charge us the premium for no reason.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Oppo Find X9 rumor. So right now, let's go through this. We have a Find X9, a Find X9 Pro. I think there's probably a Find X9 Mini or something. And then there's an Ultra coming. We know that. It's actually one of the news items. It's coming probably in the MWC period, right? So that's coming. We know that. There's also probably a Find X9S, which is like they do like the TikTok cycle, where they come out with a slightly revised version of it. But this is a rumor of a Find X9 of some kind with dual 200 megapixel sensors. So it would still have a 50 megapixel ultra wide, but the main would be 200 and the tele would be 200. And I'm wondering if they're maybe switching to not going from 3x, but maybe 5 or 6x onward for the sec. I don't know. This is a weird one. And I thought as a Oppo and a Find X9 aficionado, as I am, that you would have some thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point we're like, as you explained the details on this as best as can be explained, because it's kind of cryptic in the news as what it is. But I'm hesitant to say that I would totally be fine without a 1-inch sensor and having 2 of those 200 megapixel sensors on the back of the phone.
Yeah.
That telephoto on the Oppo is phenomenal. And there are some phones that already use that sensor for the main camera. And it's just, having it on both would be spectacular. I still think if this is the Ultra, I really still want a 1-inch sensor, that natural bokeh that you get.
We don't think this is the Ultra. The Ultra is supposed to have a 1-inch sensor and still have 4 lenses somehow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. There's still not enough detail on what this combination actually is. It's exciting to see that we might have a phone with 2 of those 200 megapixel sensors, but I don't know.
Could see a world.
If it's going to compromise the Ultra, I don't want it. But if it's another version of it, maybe I do. But I don't know. I'm torn. I'm just torn.
I can see a world where, in the same way as we've dropped the dual telephotos on the Pro series to go to a single 200 megapixel telephoto that can reach really far, I can see a world where we are going 200 main and 5x 200, and the 200 main fills in the gap to up to 5x properly. And now that 5x 200 can zoom even further with the AI zoom that we've seen on the Find X9 Pro, for example. So there is that possibility. But I think this could be a Find X9 9S Pro, that TikTok cycle Pro. I don't think this is the Ultra, but it could be something kind of different. Let's see what happens. Speaking of Oppo BBK Group, formerly, the Realme 16 Pro Plus is been leaked multiple times. They've actually shown the design of this now officially. I think that was revealed earlier this week. But here's the thing. I have one incoming. Can't tell you anything about it. I actually don't know anything about it, but I'm always fascinated by this phone, Nick, because it is an imaging-centric phone. Think Oppo Find X9 Pro, but affordable. Like it's mid-range in every other way. It has, LTPS display, 120 hertz AMOLED. It has, a MediaTek Dimensity 7300 or something in there usually. It has or it's like a Snapdragon 7S Gen 3 or something, or Gen 4. It has plastic chassis. It doesn't have wireless charging. And generally has a really big battery, and it costs like $350, $400, and it gives you that incredible imaging experience you get with that fine flagship or whatever, or that GT8 Pro, but just more affordable. And I kind of dig a phone that's like imaging centric, but at a more affordable price point. And that's why I'm excited about this one.
And my only complaints with these phones, though, is that they're typically given a mid-range chipset.
Yeah.
Like a 7 series. And it's not about the performance of the chipset itself. For me, it comes down to the image processing capabilities that you get with those mid-range chipsets.
Right.
Because, a lot of the advanced photography capabilities that you get on flagship devices are enabled by the chipset itself. And so we might have some great hardware, but the processing, even though it's Realme, it's, former BBK group, it should be as good as, let's say an Oppo, right? It just falls a little bit behind. But again, the Oppo is a $1,200 to $1,300 phone, where this would be, as you said, like $500-$600. So there's a big gap there in the price, and sometimes you just need to buy that cheaper phone. And if you're okay with a 7 series chipset from Qualcomm,
this is a 7 Gen 4 according to them, so that could actually have the AI functionality it needs to do that AI zoom, for example. So it'll be interesting to see how far they can push it. That's kind of what I'm curious about, really.
Yeah, I for a mid-range phone, I think it's probably going to be fantastic. Probably,
yeah.
I would probably take it over the OnePlus 15R.
That's exactly where I'm going.
And it's going to be a cheaper phone.
Yeah, you said $500-$600. This is typically $350-$400 in India and stuff, in the markets where it ends up. A couple of Xiaomi news. This is more of a PSA than anything. It looks like it's very clear that the Xiaomi 17 Ultra will be coming on December 26th, at least to China, and then eventually to the global markets. Apparently, it's coming to global markets this time. I'm super excited about that one because I did not get the 15 Ultra this year. And I love the 14 Ultra. So, yeah.
I would say it would be phenomenal if it was a global device. I think that's the one thing that's kind of been holding these phones back. They've been usually China only, or China plus 2 to 3 other markets in Asia or the Middle East. And we just haven't seen the global availability as it should be. To be fair, they are expensive phones. The hardware is,
but you're getting a camera-centric flagship. That's the point.
And my question to the brands has always been, why don't you just make it available? And if people want to buy it, they can buy it. There are supply chain issues, being able to ramp up production, going from, a couple 100,000 units to maybe 1 million. Is a big leap when you're talking about, the hardware costs here and, the production lines. But, give it a try, see what happens. And, it's the worst thing. You might fail 1 year, and I don't know. You're Xiaomi. You have hundreds of billions of dollars. You'll be just fine.
Yeah, I agree. And the second news we have from Xiaomi is the Redmi Note 15 Pro Plus. Again, this is very similar to this Realme. It's like a mid-range phone, very mid-range. They even have, in the Note series always has like even a 4G version of it available with generally a MediaTek chip in that. But this is the best one. It's now coming as a global phone. And interestingly enough, they changed it a bit. Instead of the 7,000 milliamp hour battery from the Chinese model that came out a few weeks back, it has a 6,500 milliamp hour battery. And instead of the triple 50 megapixel kind of camera system, or at least the telephoto and the main were 50. It has a 200 megapixel main sensor without the telephoto instead. So they've actually changed this one significantly, even though cosmetically and name-wise it's very similar. Interesting approach for a global version of this phone. Again, I bring up this phone because it's extremely popular. I've reviewed the Note in the previous years. It's been a while since I've had one, but I've reviewed them in the past, and I've always come away from like reviewing them thinking to myself, this is like 80% of a flagship experience for half the price. It's really impressive how well-rounded these phones are. So I just wanted to let you guys know, if you're a Xiaomi fan and you want a Redmi Note 15 Pro Plus and you're in a market that's global, now you can get a version. Not sure about those changes though. Thoughts on that?
I saw the news about it. I'm not a huge Redmi fan, mainly because of the software. Those phones come with so much bloatware. It's ridiculous. But yeah, if the reason for it is the bloatware allows them to sell the phone for a lot less. So if that's you, more power to you. I just, every time I turn on the phone, I have to uninstall 25 apps before I can actually start using the phone. So
it's tiring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honor made a phone last year that flew under everybody's radar, I think actually earlier this year, called the Honor Power. And that phone had an 8,000 something milliamp hour battery. And, you know, I made a prediction earlier this year that we would have a 10,000 milliamp hour phone in production within 2 years, because Realme had already shown a prototype, and also that it become commonplace in certain segments of the market. And I'm holding that thought as happening, and we now have proof because Honor's Power 2 series is coming with a 10,080 milliamp hour battery. Holy crap balls.
I think you're going to have to change your prediction to a 20,000 milliamp hour battery within 2 years.
But to be clear, like I want to be clear, this is not one of those Uli phones, right?
I know. But like,
it is like a 8 something millimeter thick phone.
So, you know, I don't, this silicon carbon battery thing kind of threw us all for a loop this year. We started seeing it last year, but, you know, brands pushing up to 6,000, 6,500 milliamp hour batteries. And we're like, hey, this is amazing. And then, you know, leapfrogging that one, going to, you know, 7,500 milliamp this year. And then, you know, 8,000, now 10,000. What still hasn't come into play is solid state batteries are still right around the corner.
Yeah.
Imagine like we start seeing the solid state batteries pop up within a year and a half to 2 years, where we're talking easily, you know, 10,000 is at the low end, and hey, mine's got 15,000 milliamp. Like, it's just ridiculous to even think about. But like, this is great. I was having this conversation with somebody from a laptop brand, and how, you know, silicon carbon batteries are making their way into laptops now, but also the chips in laptops within the last 3 years have gotten significantly more efficient, right?
Impressive.
And now we're go back 3 years ago, and laptops were getting 4, maybe 5 hours. And now they're like up there talking like, yeah, this one gets 28 hours of video playback. And you're like, seriously? Like, do you need more than 28 hours of video playback in a day on a laptop? Like, yeah, it would be nice. But at that point, we're like, okay, what's the optimal size? Let's say 30 hours of, you know, video playback is the perfect number, right? Then we can say, okay, we can start scaling back and give you a laptop that's thinner and also still delivers that 30-hour mark. Like, at what point is more better? And at what point is, you know, this is the right amount of battery life for what you need, or the crazy amount of battery life that you need? And we can start slimming things down from there. And then at that point, that's where the edges or the Air phones come into play
and make sense.
It makes sense. It's not a compromise anymore.
Yeah.
It's
a choice.
It is an actual choice and a feature, and not a compromise.
That's why I think Samsung,
we'll get there.
Google, and Apple need to go silicon carbon. Like, this is the biggest priority for them, and I'm sure they know that, because every single one of us has been singing that refrain all year in all of our content.
Well, and just to be clear, Samsung's not gone silicon carbon yet because Samsung uses their own batteries, and their own batteries, they have not produced lines yet of silicon carbon batteries. So
I get
it's
that.
a
100%.
it's a Samsung weird thing of we've limited ourselves because we only use our own technology.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, look, we have some news from our good friends at Moto here. Apparently, well, this is a leak. So, Moto Signature looks like it would be normally called the Moto Edge 70 Ultra. This is a phone that sells in Europe and other markets. We never get the Ultra now. We used to get the top of line Edge, but now we get a mid-range Edge in North America. But they now are going to call it Signature. I think this is good. I think this is good to have a name for your special flagship, even though we'll probably not get this phone, right?
Yeah, I don't think Motorola's interested in these types of devices for the US market.
No, because the folding phone is their thing. And then they're also going on this like Pantone, Swarovski, yeah.
100%. Like I think they've carved out a niche of the market for themselves that's substantial size. Like it's not huge. They're not, really going head to head against Samsung, except for in the foldable category. But I think one of the things for that, though, is they've really always missed the mark when it comes to cameras. They really haven't had the camera performance needed in order to compete with Samsung and Google and the iPhone. And that's more apparent in the US market than other markets. And so it totally makes sense that they would step away and say, hey, we're not going to do $1,000 regular slab phone in the US market because they definitely can't compete in the US market on that front.
Indeed. Well, this is a good time to wrap up. Nick, do you want to tell folks where they can find you on the internet, your various handles and publications?
Sure. Well, you can find me personally on Instagram at Nick M. Gray, but you can find all of my work on Phandroid.com with my team, or else YouTube.com/Phandroid, Instagram, Phandroids with an S. Don't have to explain that one. It's weird. But TikTok as well. Sometimes other people swoop in and cheat you out of your own brand name. It's ridiculous.
I've had the same thing happen with my TikTok. So you guys know that my handle is Tankrel everywhere. TNKGRL, like the comic book character Tankrel, and just drop the vowels. And I got that everywhere. But when I went to TikTok finally to try to get it, I couldn't. And I'm like, oh man. So I decided, to do something kind of silly, funny, is that I put my year of birth at the end, which is 69. But of course, that's, haha. So I've had a lot of interesting reactions to that. So if you're looking to chat with me on social, TNKGRL pretty much everywhere. I'm primarily on Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram, but I'm also on all the other platforms. TikTok, though, add 69 at the end. And hope to chat with you guys there, Nick and I. And then podcast is at mobiletechpodcast.com on all the major platforms. So please subscribe if it's your first time here. Also, rate or review the show if the app you use lets you do that. There's a YouTube channel, youtube.com/mobiletechpodcast with some content there. So check that out. You know how YouTube works. So like, subscribe, tell your friends, click the bell, all that good stuff. I mentioned earlier the Patreon, patreon.com/TNKGRL. You get a video version of this podcast every week in advance, for like a day or so in advance, for $5 a month. If you'd like to support me, that'd be great. That's patreon.com/TNKGRL. And finally, I want to thank our sponsor, Mint Mobile. So as you know, I'm constantly reviewing multiple phones, and while that's fun, it also means I'm constantly spending a lot of money for wireless service on multiple SIMs. That's where Mint Mobile comes in, and that's who I'm partnering with for today's podcast. If you also want to save money on your wireless service, switch to Mint Mobile. As tech-savvy early adopters, you've probably heard of Mint Mobile before, but let me quickly tell you how awesome their service is. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network. They keep costs low because they sell direct to you online. They cut out the retail stores and salespeople. Why should you pay more than you have to for access to the same network? In my experience testing phones, Mint Mobile delivers the same data speeds and call quality as the big three for a fraction of the cost. Switching to Mint is super easy. Thanks to their eSIMs, you can sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your home. No more standing around and waiting in line at a big wireless store. You can keep your current device and phone number and easily switch services. And if your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will ship you a new SIM free of charge. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, lightning fast 5G, and free mobile hotspot. Mint will show you how much data you use each month and recommend plans that save you money. Mint also offers a modern family plan that lets you set up a super affordable family plan with as little as 2 lines. Use my link mintmobile.com/mobiletech to get premium wireless starting for $15 a month. That's mintmobile.com/mobiletech. Stop paying more than you need on your wireless bill and start saving big with Mint Mobile. And Nick, thanks so much for joining me from your cold attic in beautiful Cleveland.
Beautiful Cleveland. It is freezing here. We had a beautiful day yesterday, 45 degrees, but now it's like 22 degrees, and I need to turn my space heater back on.
Well, we're going to let you do that in a second. Folks, stay tuned. We'll have another podcast next week, and we'll have Nick on in the future. I'll see you next week with another show. Cheers, everybody.
See ya.